Williams, a rookie, sitting in the finale, but we haven't seen enough out of the two quarterbacks in Pittsburgh that they are both starting. Literally, this is the most mind-boggling situation, the most worrisome situation remaining in the National Football League. The Raiders, they've announced their starting quarterback. The Denver Broncos have announced their starting quarterback. He's a rookie. The Washington Commanders have announced their starting quarterback. He's a rookie. The Chicago Bears obviously have announced theirs, but Mike Tomlin, one of the most notable and prominent coaches in the NFL, cannot figure out who to start between Russ and Justin Fields. This is chaos. James Jones, what's it say about the Steelers situation that they haven't announced a starter?
It says that Russ is the starter. Mike Tomlin's letting us know. Russ is the starter.
I want to hear this.
Me too. I'm curious.
This is the final preseason game. And Russell Wilson is starting the final preseason game, which means the starter that is starting the final preseason game has the upper edge right now. The only way this changes is if Russell Wilson goes out there and completely lays an egg. They want Russell Wilson to be the starting quarterback. So if Russell Wilson goes out here and he leads one solid drive, I think that'll be it for Russell Wilson. And I believe Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If Russ goes out here and he looks like he looks against the Buffalo Bills and Justin Fields comes into the game and he looks phenomenal, I think walking into week one, Justin Fields will be your starter. This is Russ' job to lose. That is what Tomlin is telling us right now. It is Russ' job to lose. I don't think Russell Wilson is going to lose it. I don't think he goes out there in preseason against a bunch of backups and does not play well and looks terrible. I think he goes out there and he plays well and he's the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What if
Go ahead, ask, Dave.
What if he leads 3 and outs, punts 4 times, misses a field goal, scores no points, and Steelers look disjointed the whole time he's there? Because that's what happened last time. That's what we
and
saw.
Justin Fields comes in the game and does what?
Outplayed him. Scored more points. Had better numbers.
If Russell Wilson goes out there back-to-back weeks and he plays like this, like he played in Buffalo.
He plays like he did against the Bills.
I think Justin Fields will play better than him, and Justin Fields will be the starter. And that's why I said this is Russ's job to lose. You're trotting out there week 3 of the preseason, the very last game, but as the starter.
Here's my problem, though, James. Let me stop the sentence after your fourth word. You're trotting out there.
Yeah.
Period. The fact that Russell Wilson is trotting out there lets me know he's not the starter in Sharpie. Maybe in pencil, maybe in pen.
That's what I'm saying.
Not in Sharpie.
Okay.
Who's not trotting out there is Aaron Rodgers. Who's not trotting out there is Caleb Williams. Who's not trotting out there is different quarterbacks who we know are genuinely the starters. To me, Jack, this is a terrible situation.
Hold on really quick.
Go ahead, JJ.
But if we both trotting out there, and I'm saying, Acho, I'll be back. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Who the starter?
You are currently in the lead position, but here's what I want to show y'all at home, and we've talked about it. March 25th, Mike Tomlin said Russell Wilson's in the pole position. Then on July 25th, he said nothing's changed. But by August 17th, things got dicey. Because then he said, now that Russ has full health, remember Russell Wilson was hurt, it's going to heat up the quarterback competition. Then on August 18th, it got even dicier. It's an incomplete study. And then here today, was y'all are watching the show, nothing's changed in terms of the position Russell Wilson will play. DJ, it's going like this for Russell Wilson as it pertains to him owning the position. He went from the pole position to it's heating up to now it's an incomplete study. I used to know, and now my knowledge is incomplete, Jack.
Hey, come on now. Hey, you know what I'm thinking of right now? You know that emoji sign, we're like this right here. We don't know. If I'm a Steelers fan, I'm concerned. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no chemistry. We have nothing to build on. And at the end of the day, I have to let the team know that, you know what, not even the team, the offense, I need to determine a starter. We need to know going into week 1, we have a starter. And right now, Russell Wilson haven't done enough to let us know that he's the man. So I get your analogy, but I'm like, hold on. At the end of the day, let's go with the young fella. I like Justin Fields. You know why I say that? Because we can build young. We can build around him. We can add some additions. And you know what? The ceiling is a lot more higher
Than Russ?
Than Russ. He's younger. I mean, we know his ceiling. We know where Russell Wilson's ceiling is right now.
Dave, you've covered a lot of football. The biggest controversy I can remember is in 2016. You and I were both working for the Cowboys.
Dak and Romo?
Yes, sir. Tony Romo was coming off of a fractured back. Dak Prescott was a rookie, a fourth-round pick. Fourth-round pick is definitely not going to start, definitely not going to usurp Tony Romo as a starter. But Romo played, I believe it was, in that final preseason game.
It was the third back then.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He played in the third preseason game. Again, Dave and I were entrenched in it, literally in the Cowboys facility, watching this play out in real time. And then Dak Prescott ends up being the starter. But we knew conclusively that Dak had won that starting job. Even here, it's inconclusive. Dave, you've covered it for a long time. What in the world does this say?
Dak played his way to a starting job. That is what Mike Tomlin is asking his quarterbacks to do. And I love it. This says to me that the Steelers are smart and that Mike Tomlin's not scared of the uncertainty, and I love it, because think back to the spring. Russell Wilson gets cut by Denver. Remember, there were reports, he's in the Pittsburgh airport. He must be talking to the Steelers, and it's a big get in terms of name. And a lot of NFL coaches, I think, would feel pressured to let the longtime starter, the one-time MVP candidate, have this job and go. But no. The Steelers traded for Justin Fields, and Tomlin said he was in pole position, but once he got hurt, all bets were off. And I don't know, there are a few. Andy Reid comes to mind, Sean Payton comes to mind, but Mike Tomlin is as tenured, as experienced, and as confident as an NFL coach gets. Do you realize how tricky it could be to manage these egos between two guys that have started a lot of football games? He's hang on, Acho. He's making Russell Wilson play the last preseason game.
That's terrible.
You two.
That's terrible.
How would that have made you feel?
Terrible.
Everything y'all accomplished in the NFL. Let me make it clear.
Go,
if
Acho.
you are playing the last preseason game as a guy who has accomplished anything in this league, I don't think there's a way to frame it as anything other than an insult. And Mike Tomlin is saying, no, you two haven't done enough. You haven't looked good enough, and I'm going to let this thing play out. I don't think there are very many coaches that would have the guts to do this, and I applaud Mike Tomlin.
I didn't want to do it.
Why does this bother you so much?
Because I don't want to have to say what I'm about to have to say.
Go ahead.
We give Mike Tomlin the biggest pass for how he chronically mismanages the quarterback position. I didn't want to have to say it. Nobody on television is going to say it.
What do you mean by that?
You drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round just 2 years ago.
The organization did.
And he's not on your roster. Before that, you've drafted multiple fourth-round picks or better. We just mentioned Dak Prescott as a fourth-round pick, competent. Landry Jones, that ain't work out. Josh Dobbs, that ain't work out, but he's still out there making splashes for other organizations. Mason Rudolph as a third-round pick, that didn't work out. Once again, you drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round. That didn't work out. You never have an offensive coordinator that has any sort of potent or explosive offense. You now have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Russell Wilson last year was not good as it pertains to record-wise, and Justin Fields is 10-28 as a starter. So you got a quarterback room with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You got an offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith who has never had a dangerous or scary offense, and you drafted a first-round pick, swinging and a miss, a third-round pick, swinging and a miss, a fourth-round pick, swinging and a miss, and I don't even know if you're swinging and missing or you're just not developing. So Mike Tomlin is a brilliant leader of men. He is a phenomenal head coach. He is an exquisite and elite defensive mind. But how long will we watch the Pittsburgh Steelers mismanage the quarterback position, dating back to Ben Roethlisberger, holding that organization and that franchise hostage?
You could have stopped way earlier at just the leader of men part. Because, these are not quarterbacks that Mike Tomlin has or will develop. These are one-year rentals to get the Steelers through missing on Kenny Pickett. And Mike Tomlin does have to bear some responsibility for that. That pick has been a disaster, considering it was a first-round pick. But they are in a situation where they need a starter for 1 year, maybe more, if either one of these guys exceeds expectations. And the leader of men part is what matters, because Mike Tomlin is forcing these guys to compete, basically. And I applaud him for that.
Here is my dilemma, and Jack, I don't want to do this. But when I think about the other great coaches in the NFL, because Mike Tomlin, we can say, is a top 5 coach in the NFL, right? Let's put Kyle Shanahan in that bucket. Let's put Sean McVay in that bucket. Let's put Andy Reid in that bucket.
Naming a lot of offensive head coaches.
Hold on, that's what I was going to say.
No doubt about it. But Tomlin's in there, right? He's a top 5, right?
Yeah, he's
top 5, right?
He's a defensive guy.
No doubt about it. Here's my dilemma. Jared Goff was 0-7 as a starter, as a rookie. Sean McVay shows up, and he's in a Super Bowl 2 years later. Kyle Shanahan swung and missed on Trey Lance, but Brock Purdy, as a 7th-round pick, has now been to a Super Bowl. Andy Reid had to hold things together with Alex Smith, who was a bust. And all of a sudden, the Chiefs are in the playoffs year after year prior to Patrick Mahomes. What I am suggesting is, Dave, Mike Tomlin does not get enough credit for the shortcomings at the most important position in football. It's the most important position. Shout out to T.J. Watt. Mike Tomlin, you get credit for that. Shout out to linebackers. You're going to keep a linebacker on deck, whether it's Patrick Queen, whether it's Shazier prior to the injury. You're going to keep a linebacker on deck. You're going to keep a DB on deck. But what about the most important position in the game of football? How for 5 consecutive years can the Steelers go without having the most important position in the game of the National Football League, and we don't even talk about it? We don't talk about it, Jack.
Replacing a Hall of Fame quarterback's really hard to do. Like, it's an incredibly hard thing to do. That's all I got.
I mean, the Packers just did it, and then they did it again, and then they did it again.
The Packers are unique in their ability to do that, as far as I'm aware.
I think that's the different situation, because you're talking about. You said Tomlin's a top 5 coach, but the other coaches you put in there are all offensive coaches, which they know how to develop a coach. So when you're a defensive-minded coach, you have to be able to hire these coaches around your quarterback on the offensive side of the ball to develop your quarterback. And I can sit here and say that, okay, Mike Tomlin has not done a good job of hiring offensive coaches to develop his quarterbacks. He had Big Ben. He didn't have to develop Big Ben.
He was already developed.
He's in another situation right now to where you have Russell Wilson. You don't have to develop Russell Wilson. So, Russell Wilson, I don't really care what offense you in. You are developed. You are a proven quarterback. You have to come out here and you have to earn your spot. Now, when it becomes to Justin Fields, if you do go with Justin Fields, hopefully you have a guy in who? Arthur Smith, who likes to run the ball, who likes to run the read option, who likes to do that. Now you got a chance to develop a young quarterback in Justin Fields. He has not done a good job of building around the offensive coaches to develop a quarterback. I truly believe when they drafted Kenny Pickett, who is the offensive coordinator? How are we going to get Kenny Pickett better? Who knows what Kenny Pickett would have been, but maybe you get a true offensive-minded guy to be in there to help Kenny Pickett to develop him. But
does that not worry y'all? To me, it's the biggest omission in the NFL right now. The most glaring omission in the NFL is the Steelers are one of the most competent organizations led by one of the greatest leaders of men, and Mike Tomlin has never identified a great quarterback or developed one. He inherited Ben Roethlisberger, and Ben had already won a Super Bowl. Does that not at all strike a chord?
Can I ask you an earnest question? What does that have to do with this? Like, we're trying to make the best of an admittedly bad quarterback situation.
What it has to do with this is the situation we're in isn't coincidence. Where's the optimism if you're a Steelers fan? We can't develop Justin Fields because we couldn't develop Mitch. We couldn't develop Dobbs. We couldn't develop a Pickett. We couldn't develop Rudolph. So we're not developing Fields. And we don't know if Russ is good because we've never actually identified a good quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger was already on the squad when I got here. So I don't know if Russ is good because we've never identified a good quarterback. And I don't think I can develop Fields because I've never developed a quarterback. So how in the world do I have any sort of comfort in what's going on in Pittsburgh?
So you're basically saying any veteran quarterback that comes to Pittsburgh they got to be developed by Mike Tomlin?
No. The young cats got to be developed.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So Russell Wilson's a starter right now. He's trotting out there to week 3 as the starter. Why does Mike Tomlin got to teach Russell Wilson anything?
But it shouldn't be on Mike Tomlin. That's the issue.
That's what I'm
At
saying.
this point in his career, yeah.
It shouldn't be on the offensive coordinator.
It shouldn't be on nobody.
But here's my thought process. Here's my thought process, family. I believe this is the deepest quarterback draft class since, Dave, you'd have to help me out, but we may never have seen a deeper quarterback
draft class. The one that just got drafted? Yeah, it's about as deep as it's ever been.
Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams.
Drake May,
Michael Penix. The Falcons drafted Michael Penix just because they wanted to. Just, he there. We going to take him. If you know that Russ is an option and Fields is an option, then you must do whatever you can in the deepest quarterback class maybe ever to acquire one. Here's my issue, James, is I don't know if the Steelers organization has ever proven to have the foresight to properly identify a quality quarterback. Because is Russ still good? Russ is my dog off the field, but I don't know if on the field Russ is still good. You don't know if that, Jack. You don't know, Dave. You don't know. So we trust in that Russ is going to be good, but why? Because Tomlin said he was.
No.
No, because Russ over his career has been a really good quarterback.
Is it true? Not the last 3 years.
But with a great defense.
But what I'm saying is Russ has delivered in football games. Mike Tomlin is not in charge right now of developing Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is in year what? 13, 14?
But he's in charge of acquiring Russell Wilson. So the reason we're in this dilemma in the first place is what, James Jones? Because we missed on Pickett and we didn't have a backup plan and we can't develop quarterbacks in the first place. If Kyle Shanahan didn't develop Brock Purdy, which he did, we'd be having a whole other conversation. James, the Niners were still in the Super Bowl last year with Brock. You still in the Super Bowl. You feel me? Like, that's my tension.
So your tension is Mike Tomlin has not identified a good offensive coach to develop these dudes because Mike Tomlin is a defensive coach.
Those hires deserve criticism.
And
Canada was
you
not
already
great
said
for
the defensive players that he drafted, he developed them.
Sir, them boys is
So
nice.
you're basically just saying, Mike Tomlin, we don't know if you know how to identify the right offensive coaches to develop a quarterback.
Correct.
Because the last time you had true success was with a veteran quarterback that you didn't have to develop.
Correct.
And that is why Mike Tomlin is saying, oh, shoot, I got a quarterback I ain't got to develop.
Yeah.
I'm going to handle my business on the defensive side of the ball, and this dude should come in here and do what he can do because he don't got to be developed. And now Russell Wilson is showing them that he ain't really like that no more. And we can't blame that on Tomlin, right?
No, I think the fact that our quarterback situation is a complete disaster and has been for 5 years, I think has to fall on the feet of the leaders.
So let's just say and Aaron Rodgers are let's just say Matthew Stafford is a free agent, and they come to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they don't play well. That's on Tomlin?
No.
You understand what I'm saying?
1,000%.
So, like, I understand you talking about the young quarterbacks, so you got to put the right people around them to develop
Here's
him.
my dilemma. How come he hasn't gotten to Matthew Stafford, and how come he hasn't gotten to Aaron Rodgers? He hasn't identified.
Now, that's a different topic.
And that is on top.
There we go. That's
Maybe
on
he
top.
could get a Dak Prescott in 2025.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.